Welcome to Vibecast, the podcast that dives deep into the heartbeat of workplace culture. I'm your host, Kristi. Join me in conversations with extraordinary leaders as we unravel their experiences, both positive and negative, that have impacted workplace culture. This podcast is more than storytelling. It's about actionable insights. Are you ready to transform the vibe at your workplace? Let's go. Today, I'm speaking with Karen Alter, who is the CEO of Borshoff, which is an integrated marketing communications agency helping brands find and share their voices across all internal and external touchpoints. Karen oversees the agency's strategic direction, sales and marketing, management and operations, talent development, and recruitment, as well as some other key initiatives. Prior to her current role as CEO, for 2 decades, Karen provided strategic and senior level counsel on advertising, branding, and marketing campaigns for the agency's largest clients. As an agency leader, she helped expand Borshoff's advertising business unit, which now represents 75% of the agency's workforce and total revenue. Not only is Karen committed to bringing good vibes to the organizations she serves, but is also very engaged with her local community where she serves on several boards and committees. I'm so excited to have a conversation with Karen today. Why don't we just start out talking about how you define a vibe? Like, what does that mean to you?
So I love the word vibe. It's such a cool word. I don't use it enough, I think, after talking with you. I'm like, I'm going to have to use that word a little bit more than I do right now. It's not one of those things that it's easy to define for me, but I think it's one of those feelings. If you will, you just know it when you feel it. And I think in a workspace, what really stands out to me is it's that feeling when people feel really unified around something that they share, whether that's their mission at work or a client or a project or something that they're doing. It's not really work, if you know what I mean. It doesn't feel like work or it doesn't feel like working. It's just kind of a synergy that a group of people have when they come together because they really care about what they're doing and they really care about each other. So I think that's how I would define it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that work doesn't feel like work and that
Exactly.
synergy. It's like you're like living out your passion with people that you care about and, making some money while you're doing it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And, we always talk about how much we love what we do and we love doing it with the team that we have. That's where the magic happens. And that's where you're like, oh man, I could be doing this all day long. Obviously, there are challenges and things that come into play. But when you're doing it with people who care about you and that you care about them, and I think that just makes it so
yeah.
much easier.
So I'm sure you have plenty of great stories, plenty of bloopers, if you will, of like, ooh, I'm not going to do that again, or I'm definitely going to do that again. So I'd love for you to share a story or two about how you've gone about either receiving a vibe from a leader, good or bad, and then growing to create that vibe for the whole entire team because you took over after a founder-led organization, right? So that can be a interesting transition as well. So I'd love to hear more of your stories about feeling the vibe and creating the vibe.
Right. So Borshoff is blessed to have founders that started the company. Next year will be 40 years in business, founded by Myra Borshoff, who was just a trailblazer, ahead of her time, if you will. And so my becoming a partner was on the heels of her retiring. And there were 2 other long-term owners that were in that owner group, and then another one. So there were 4 of us after Myra went on. And so I think what I learned from all of them was this unique aspect of connecting with people and making really strong connections and bonds that matter. And that, again, back to that sort of caring about each other and really working together on hard things, but doing it with sort of that camaraderie and collaboration. And so I feel like from each of them, I learned something really unique. Myra, she was such a hard worker. She worked around the clock. And she just made a name for herself, and people called her for anything and everything. So being sort of accessible and being available to people, I think, and she always kind of told it like it was. You know what I mean? People really respected her for that. Like, hey, what do we need to do here? And it was no holds barred. Like, this is what you need to do. And I aspire to do that. I don't always do that, but I do aspire to do that. And then we had Eric Johnson, who's a 6'9", just
Wow.
wonderful, gentle giant, I called him. And he was just such a community servant, and he worked really hard in the community, and he was so great at everything he did. Such a great mentor for me. And then there was Susan Matthews, and she was our managing principal. And actually, she was the longest employee at Borshoff, 31 years, I think, when she retired.
Wow.
She was
Wow.
Myra's first hire. And what I learned from Susan was the business mindset, right? Like, how do you run a business? How, like, all the financials, all that integrity that goes into that. So I really feel blessed that I learned something really from each of them. And then Jennifer Deswanner, the fourth partner at the time, she and I were very much more contemporaries in age. We were much more, just similar in our career paths and years at the agency. And what I've always loved about Borshoff is that family atmosphere. And again, a small company, we're blessed. We can have those vibes, if you will, where we really can do things together during the workday or after the workday. And in my certain case, Jennifer ended up doing something remarkable for me. Really is a miracle. She ended up being a surrogate mother for my husband and our child. So
Wow.
yeah, so that, talk about a really indelible experience that just changes your life. So when I joined the agency, I was very open about our struggles with infertility and shared that with all of my bosses, all of the owners, and shared it with her. And she felt called by God to have our baby, and she did. And now he's 23.
Oh
So I
my
feel like I've
goodness.
gotten off topic, but I think from that standpoint, those four people, and then I have two other partners as well,
Yeah.
but it feels like those people really, a piece of them, I kind of have
Mhm.
tagged on to and learned from and really hold dearly.
That is amazing. Amazing. Talk about
Yeah.
connection. Connection's a big deal for the agency and for everything that you guys do and kind of working
Yeah.
hard alongside people and staying connected. Is there anything in particular that you can hang your hat on or say is the secret sauce of connection?
I think for me, it's really being vulnerable and being
Mm,
accessible and being open to sharing where you are, in whether it's a struggle that you're having or an idea that you want to share. I think it's really just getting on that level with people where, let's have a conversation. Let's get on the same page about this, or let's just discuss. And for me, leading from the heart has always been like my cornerstone in all of my jobs. I've been a board chef 27 years, like I said, but in all of my previous jobs, having relationships with people has made all the difference for me in the work that I've done. Back to not feeling like it's work. It
yeah.
feels so much better when it's just something that you're doing because, again, that caring piece of it. So I would think being vulnerable and leading from the heart are probably, those would be to me the two big ingredients into that secret sauce.
And I imagine that can sound very scary for some, right? Have you seen leaders come into your organization or leaders you've worked with in the past that aren't quite as willing to lead with their heart or be vulnerable because it feels like a scary place or it feels like then they won't have authority or all
Mm.
those stories that people create in their heads? Have you seen that, and what does that look like, and what has it done to a team dynamic?
Yeah, I've seen that absolutely. And I think those people, not especially back to the small close knit community that we have because we're a small company, I think it's
Mhm.
almost essential that you have to be vulnerable. And especially in the creative business, all of our team members are creating things for clients and putting themselves into the work. And I think you've got to be able to do that or you probably won't succeed. And we've had some people come and go. It's not for everyone, obviously. There are just some jobs that just don't work out. But I think I can't pinpoint like a specific person per se, but
Mhm.
I can see a pattern where maybe they were, because they were more closed off, they just didn't necessarily stay very long or do very well in our particular environment. Nothing against
Yeah.
them, but just that was
Yeah.
more of our vibe and they weren't necessarily wanting to jump in.
How do you assess for fit within your culture or vibe for your organization to ensure that somebody will follow along or be part of and engage in that vulnerability and connection and relationship? Like, is there something in particular that you find that you guys do very well or that you've refined over the years to ensure that who you bring in is going to carry out that legacy, if you will, of how you operate?
Yes, and I say all of that with also the point that I wanna make is that we want diversity. I mean, that's when our the best work comes in out of us when we're bringing in all different mindsets and perspectives. So, it's not like we wanna hire a bunch of Karens that to come and work, for us because how boring would that be? But we want people I mean, again, it's like we
Yeah.
want all of that different those different, characteristics and those different skill sets. But I think the one of the things that we've done really well is our screening and hiring process because we have a fantastic HR manager that starts it off, and then we do kind of initial screenings, and then we do team interviews. So we
Mhm.
get groups of people who will work with that person potentially and do it in a less formal way with all of the new technology and during pandemic times and even now post pandemic we do a lot of it on Teams or on Zoom initially before we're bringing somebody in, but we might do an after hours interview with someone just to see how that feels.
Yeah.
So I think there's just kind of some best practices that have come through our hiring process that have really helped us. And we talk about our core values in the interview process. That's one of the things that I share what our core values are and I assess how do you feel about those? I ask some questions
Yeah.
around those. Do those fit with your personal values? So I think those are the key things that we do.
Is there any one particular core value that kind of lives loudly in the
Yeah,
organization that helps create the vibe that you'd like to talk about?
sure. I'd love to. So we have four of them. I'll go ahead and tell
Yeah.
you what they are. They're curious, evolving, united, and relational. And I
Mhm.
feel like all four of those come and go in importance on any given day or with any given individual or team member. But I feel like relational, for me personally, relational, and it probably ties back to the opening when we were talking about my personal relationships. That's just a
Mhm.
core value of mine is having really strong relationships, trusting relationships with people. And so I feel like relational again, when you're in the business that we're in, where we're creating, like I said, helping clients work toward their business goals and reach their audiences in unique and different ways,
Yeah.
building those strong bonds is what's going to get the best work. And
Yeah.
so that to me is one that really kind of just strikes a chord personally and then throughout the work that I do day in, day out.
That's so awesome. Okay, so let's talk about physical space. I think you have very interesting physical space of how you guys interact, right? And you're still kind of hybrid-esque. Talk to me a little bit about that and then how you make sure to maintain those core values in kind of the dynamics of the physical environment.
So we had beautiful space pre-pandemic. We had this 17,000 square foot
Oh, wow.
gorgeous office space, glass walls, and just beautiful furniture. It was the ideal. And again, back to the vibe. I remember when we moved into that space in 2017, my heart was just pounding. I just loved it so much. It was like having a child. I'd never had a child before, but here was my child was this space. And so it was just amazing. And then we were hit just like everybody was, right? With okay, work from home. And
Mhm.
so as the pandemic lingered. It wasn't going to just be 2 weeks, it was going to be much, much longer. We decided that we really needed to rethink how we were using space just in general. And so we downsized. We found a office space across the street from us, which is so great. We're still in Indianapolis, we're in the Mass Ave Cultural District, which just again back to that creativity. Our team loves being there. It's so connected to all things that are cool, and I'll use the word
Yeah.
has a great vibe. It has a great vibe on Mass Ave. So now our space is half the size. We took probably just a third of that furniture. There are no individual offices. So in the previous space, we had individual offices. We did have open areas, but there were a lot of different places to close doors and have meetings. And in this space, we don't necessarily have that. We have a lot of open areas where you can kind of grab a desk on a day and work there. People have grabbed, it's funny, after being there now, going on 2 years, it's funny how people have kind of gravitated, including myself. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to do this, but we gravitate to a certain desk and to a certain area. Just you get
Sure.
comfortable, right? I think how people use the space is for that togetherness, for that coming in, whether we're going to have a big brainstorm, whether we're going to host a client meeting or a brand session or something where we're coming together. We have a video team, and our video team has used the space actually to film videos in our
Wow.
space. So it's very flexible, it's very open. We had our retreat there last month, our staff retreat. And we also, this is very cool because of where we are, we have access to a rooftop that overlooks Mass Ave and downtown Indy. So we can use that during the day. We can go out on the rooftop and have meetings
Yeah.
out there if we want to. So again, it's that variety. It's offering our team members a place where they can come if they need to do those kind of work projects, but they
Yeah.
also have the opportunity to work from home. And it just, everyone just loves that flexibility.
So do you give them the option? There isn't a, "Hey, you have to
Mhm.
be in the office on these days," or
Right.
anything like that?
So we have 4 departments, and the department heads kind of handle it differently with their teams. Like, they may say, "Hey, we're gonna
Yeah.
be in on Tuesdays and Thursdays every
Yeah.
week," but it's essentially it works out to be about 2 days a week, per person. I mean, there's some days
Yeah.
I'm in there every day, and I'm more of
Yeah.
an in the office type of person. It's just my age and my history, just what my preference.
Yeah.
Again, back to
Sure.
that togetherness and being with people.
Sure.
I get a lot of energy from that when I see people and I hear people. And obviously today, like,
Yeah.
working from home is ideal. So just having that
Yeah.
flexibility, I think, is what people really have glommed onto.
Yeah, that's super awesome that you've given the leaders the autonomy to make those decisions for their team, right?
Yes,
It, like, empowers them almost to make the right decision for their team, and I imagine that you have other ways of measuring their success other than being in the office, and they'll make the right decision to be in the office when they need to be in the office to be together, right? But otherwise, they can do what they need to do from home.
right. And we have a monthly staff meeting. So everybody comes in on that day. A new thing that we have that we didn't have pre pandemic was 2 fully remote employees. So we have an
Okay.
employee that's headquartered that lives in Lexington, Kentucky, and we have an
Yeah.
employee that lives in New York City. So
Okay.
those 2 individuals are planted in those places, but they come in periodically. We have arrangements for them to come in. They both were here for our annual retreat, like I said, last month. So, and then there's so many opportunities to have online virtual meetings with them. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a different way of working, but again, it's where the world is. And again, grabbing that talent from other geographic areas is also awesome because I get back to the diversity, it adds to our
Yeah.
diversity and our thinking.
And it sounds like you have a mechanism also to keep them connected, right? So it's not,
Yes.
I mean, we need, like, human interaction in person. Like, that is so
Yes,
core to, I think, just, like, humanity. That's really, really great that you still have that ability to bring people together in the office, in person, all at one
absolutely.
time. Is there anything that, you've kind of put in your mental Rolodex, I like to call it, of like, "I will make sure to never do that as a leader," and you have stuck to your guns and not done that?
Gosh, that's a great one. I think I vowed early on to never be like a yeller, if that makes sense. Like I to not I mean, and I've lost it before. The frustration levels have hit before, but always to try to center myself before putting the emotions on someone else. So I think
Mhm.
that's probably the main thing. I remember a boss way before Borshoff who I just shared this story recently, who was definitely angry sort of leader, did a lot of yelling. And I didn't have to work with that person very often, which was great. But when I did, I was always a little, and I think that just resonated with me as something not to do. There were so many more effective ways to
Yeah.
share feedback. And there's sometimes you've got to give constructive criticism and you have to discuss hard things, but it doesn't have to be done in that sort of a manner.
Yeah. So instead of that way, how do you choose to provide feedback or have tough conversations with your employees or teammates to ensure that you keep the vibe that you're looking to create?
I think it's one of those things again where it's vulnerability. Say that 3 times. Sharing my perspective, asking a lot of questions, seeking to understand is kind of a phrase that I've used a lot. Where help me understand where you were headed with this or why you made that decision. Let's discuss it. Let's discuss the good, the bad, the ugly about
Yeah.
it. And so really just trying to put myself in their shoes, but also there's a phrase that my our HR manager taught. It's not a unique thing, but it's what's best for Borshoff question. So it's always asking that question. And if that person needs the tough love or needs the feedback, it's all because I care about them. It's coming from that place. It's coming from what's best for Borshoff, what's best for our clients, what's best for you kind of
Yeah.
standpoint. And so that's how
Yeah.
I like to approach it.
Yeah. Sounds like you really stick to that core value of curiosity.
Absolutely. And we have to continue, evolving is another core value. And just with the world around us and how AI has I
Mhm.
said the other day, AI rained down on everyone. And so we have to stay up to speed on new things. And how is that going to impact our business? How is that going to impact our skill sets and our talent base? So, really trying to instill that in other people that we are lifelong learners. And that's really core to how we're going to do the best work for each other and
Yeah.
our client work.
Yeah. Yeah, because that can be really disruptive in a work
It
environment,
can.
right? And kind of impact the vibe when you're feel like you're settled doing it one way to some degree, even like
Uh huh.
maintaining your creativity, but then this thing comes in over the top. I think a lot of people felt that during the pandemic, right?
Uh
We come
huh.
out of it, and then they're like, then there's this other thing, and we have to change the way we do it again. So
Uh
that's
huh.
really great.
Yes.
You guys are encouraging that evolution of your staff, your people development, how you operate, probably how you interact with clients. So, we've talked a lot about how you've created the vibe within your organization, what those core values are, what remains important, and like how you lead. But then I'm curious of how you make sure that you can maintain that vibe with the clients that you have. So
Mm,
sometimes the influence that your team members get really come from the clients that they're interacting with. So do you have
yeah.
any type of mechanism to ensure that the clients that you bring on are aligned with your vibe, or have you had to go through difficult conversations because they've been detracting from your vibe? Curious about that.
Yes, that's such an interesting topic because it's very challenging. And we've always said working with clients that share our same values is really where we want to be. I mean, that's the ideal. And we have a pretty comprehensive onboarding process that we go through in the very beginning. So it's just a little bit about how we work, expectations, how simple little things about how do you want to communicate? Do you like email? Do you like text? How do
Yeah.
you, the invoice process, all of that. So that's more of a foundational
Mhm.
aspect of it. But in terms of the actual relationship, we do things with our clients all the time and we involve team members. So, like tonight, I'm going to an event here in Indianapolis, and we've invited a couple of our clients to sit at our table. So, we're doing things with them outside of tasks and
Yeah.
goals and deadlines and
Sure.
all of that to where we're seeking to understand them and build those bonds beyond
Yeah.
just the day in, day out stuff and exposing our team members to that as well. It's not just the senior people that get to do that stuff, it's
Uh,
all the way through the agency. And we've also done some fun things culturally, like we pre pandemic, we did an annual chili cook off and with staff members. These are the things that they talk about when you're trying to build culture. It's not just the food you bring, but we did
yeah.
have fun with that chili cook-off, and we invited clients to come and be the judges for that. So, again, it's weaving them into who we are as a company,
Yeah.
but also trying to do stuff with them outside of just the task-oriented
Yeah.
things, because that's how you really get those relationships going.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. That's great. Yeah. Cause then they feel like they're human, right? And not just like
Exactly.
this transaction
And
happening.
yeah, and back to your question, I think that I didn't answer was that we've had to have hard conversations with clients about, hey,
Yeah.
this doesn't feel, something feels off. Can we have a conversation about this? Let's get on the same page. Who do we need to bring in from your side? Who do we need to bring in from our side? And let's get together and work this out. And I know we can. And sometimes client projects end and we don't work with that client anymore and it's fine. But then
Mm.
we have some clients that we've worked with for decades. So it really
Yeah.
just depends on what the work is and the vibe, to use
Yeah.
your word, to use your fun word.
I love it. I love it. I want you to use it more and more because I
Okay,
think
yes,
it
I'm going to get a t-shirt. I know they have them. So I love
definitely.
it.
Okay, so last thing, if there's one thing you could bottle up that's simple that leaders could take away from this listening and that you would say, if you're going to focus on one thing, what's that one thing, piece of advice, information, thing to do that you would recommend?
It's going to sound really funny coming from someone who works at an agency that is in communications, but I'm going to say communicate. It is the hardest thing for people to do, and it's really more about listening than talking, right? Um,
Mhm.
I think there's so many times, even as I've looked back on my career, where I was trying to impress by having something profound to say or bring to the conversation, when as a leader, I think it's the onus is on us to listen. And like I said before, asking smart questions and really trying to put yourself in the other person's place, but not, I have a bad tendency to complete other people's sentences. I know that I do this. I really work hard at not doing it, but I relatable, right? Like back to relational, relatable. I want them to feel that I'm really into the conversation, but sometimes I think it can be a barrier, right? So I think listening and then listening first and then truly communicating from the heart would
Yeah.
be my advice.
It's awesome. I love it. All right, and now we're gonna get to know you a little bit more on a
Okay.
personal level, because that's my point. So, we're just gonna do a little bit of a lightning round. It's fun, it's,
Okay.
quick, and I'll ask 5 or 6 questions, and you just answer the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So, cats or dogs?
Dogs for sure.
Beach vacation or city trip?
Beach vacation. I'm headed out in the morning to Naples, Florida. So yay.
Yes. Morning person or night owl?
Neither. can, can I
You
pick
like the middle of
neither?
the day?
I'm sort of middle of the day. I'm kind of a
There
lunch
you go.
person. I just,
There you go. Perfect, perfect. Texting or calling?
gosh. Karen of today says texting. Karen of several years ago would say calling, but I do enjoy texting, just makes life so much easier. It's just such a
Yeah,
quick way to connect to somebody. I love it.
totally. Comedy or drama?
Definitely comedy. Love comedy. In fact, one of my aspirations in life is to be a stand-up comedian. So I have
Oh,
not made
wow. I love
I have
it.
not made it. I have not made any progress toward that goal, so I've got a little bit of work to do. But it is something that I've put out there into the universe, and so I don't know. At some point, I'm going to have to make some headway.
Well, I'm sure communication as a CEO in front of your organization, I'm sure you integrate some
I
humor
do,
into that comedy, so
yes,
at least
and
you got some practice.
I usually try to have a few good jokes at staff meetings,
Perfect,
and
I
it
love it.
it starts with self deprecation.
All right, 2 more. Coffee shop or library?
Coffee shop, definitely a
And
coffeeaholic. Yeah,
same. And sweet or savory snacks?
sweet. Oh, I have a sweet tooth. I hate it, but I do.
We all have guilty pleasures. It's all good.
Yes, exactly. Love a good piece of dark chocolate. There's nothing better.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time,
Thank you.
Karen, and thank you for just sharing from your heart. Like you mentioned, your true, authentic self. I think it's just really important for leaders to know that they can be a real human being in front of their staff and it works. So I appreciate you opening up and being who you are. I am so inspired by Karen and her journey in leading from the heart within Borshoff. Far too often, leaders go to work and forget to be human, are scared to be vulnerable, and act as if they are someone they are not. It was a true pleasure to hear Karen share about the connections she has created over the years through her various roles within the organization and now as the leader of the business. Her commitment to leading with her heart and being vulnerable is priceless. To get in touch with Karen, visit Borshoff's website at borshoff.biz or on her LinkedIn profile at Karen Alter. If this episode inspired you and you want to see how you can take the next step to creating a better vibe within your organization, I'd love for you to download our complimentary 75 Vibes worksheet. This is a simple tool to create a habit and mindset around creating great vibes in work and life. The best part, it's simple and it works.